Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's fine. Alright, I'm Farhana from PPD Kota Baru, and today, together with me is Mr. Warid bin Mihan, an English language teacher from SK Kubang Krian 3, a high performance school in Kota Baru, Kelantan. I'll just let Mr. Warid do the introduction on himself.
Thank you very much, Madam Farhana. I think first thing first is that I would like to thank PPD Kota Baru for providing me with such a platform to share with teachers from the school. And I would also like to congratulate USTP Tapang for being able to organize such an event, help PPD Kota Baru in organizing this event. As Madam Farhana has mentioned, my name is Warid bin Mihan. But I do have an English name, which is, you can call me Worry. Alright, but you don't have to be worried about me today. I do have a lot of butterflies in my stomach at the moment, but I think I'll do fine after this. And currently, I am an English language teacher at SK Kubang Krian 3. It is a high performing school. Just a little bit about myself. I would say that I am a proud alumni of IPGM, Kampus Bahasa Antarabangsa, under a twinning program with, at that time it was with College Semak in St. John. And then I'm also a proud alumni of the University of Nottingham, Malaysia campus, especially the School of Education. The current head of the School of Education is Professor Dr. Gana Kumaran Subramaniam now, and he was my supervisor as well as lecturers back in Nottingham. Okay. And currently, I am a member of the UKM clan, and to be more specific, with the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. In terms of my NGO social work, I'm quite active with MELTA, Malaysian English Language Teaching Association. Okay, so that's a little bit about myself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Warid. Okay. Viewers, as English language teachers, I believe teaching writing is rather challenging to many of us in teaching writing. So today we are very happy, and I'm very thankful on behalf of PPD Kota Baru that we have Mr. Warid to share with us the approach. And the name of this particular approach is called the feedback approach, and it's meant for the upper primary level, right?
Yes.
And he's using the dummy essay. All right. Without further ado, I would like to Mr. Warid to share what the approach is about, and I pass the mic to you, Mr. Warid.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam Farhana. Okay, let's check first. Can they see our PowerPoint? Okay, so basically this is our PowerPoint. All right. I have to use my teacher's voice. Okay. Today I'm going to share with you one of the approaches. Okay. Why am I using the term one of the approaches in writing? Because there are many approaches. There are many approaches, right? And we do not want to claim that this is the ultimate guide to the writing. So there is a need to mix and match when it comes to learning experience with in the classroom. Okay, and a few disclaimers as well. I'm not an excellent teacher. So what I'm doing is just sharing my perspective and my opinion. And my opinion is not representing any institution. Okay, so it's just my personal opinion. Okay. And I am responsible to whatever statements that I make. Don't worry, okay? No running away. Okay. So in today's presentation, we'll try to finish within 45 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the problems that I face in the classroom when it comes to teaching writing, and then I'm going to tell you what is actually dummy essay. And then I'm going to share with you how dummy essay is being conducted in the classroom. And then I'm going to table to everyone what are the dimensions or the contents that normally available in the dummy essay. And last but not least, we're going to have a Q&A sessions. I'm going to answer a few questions from the audience as well as from Puan Farhana. All right. So, you know, Puan Farhana, when we talk about writing, teaching writing at primary school especially, there are many issues or interesting issues that we can discuss.
And rather challenging.
Yes, and some of them are challenging.
Yeah.
Some of them think that it is not challenging, but actually challenging for the kids. Okay, so some of us has their interest towards penmanship. Some of us love to talk about how sentence being constructed from sentence to sentences, and from how sentences develop to a paragraph, and then from paragraph to the next paragraph until it becomes a whole unit of text. Some of us also talk about the process in producing the essay itself. So they talk about brainstorming, they talk about drafting, reviewing, revising, up until publishing. And some of us also have their interest toward the maturity of the young writers in expressing their ideas. But my presentation today is not going to talk about on this topic. I'm going to talk about feedback. Okay, so feedback is actually one of the areas that is also important in writing. But what is actually feedback? Feedback is about giving a response towards someone's work in teaching writing context. And how does it normally occur? Okay, if you refer back to the formalisms of the process, normally feedback happens at the reviewing and the revising stage. Okay, so you review, you got feedback from someone, and then you revise, and then you send back for someone's evaluations. Okay, but this process, formalisms, in my opinion, is very much influenced by the tertiary education levels. You know, so it's from those people who are already at the tops of the hierarchy looking into the process, and it's remained true. Because when I talk about me publishing a literature or journal in educations, when we send our paper to publisher, they get back to us with the reviewer's opinion or feedback in regards to our work, and then we have to work on our paper, and then we have to send back, and then they provide us back feedback whether the paper being rejected or be accepted for Scopus Index publication. But do you think this remains true in upper primary classroom?
Yeah, we do give feedback,
Yes,
but the number of students in the
yeah,
classroom,
yes.
that is the main problem.
Yes.
Isn't it?
The question, no, not the question actually, but in the typical situation, this is the ideal situation.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I call the ideal. But the reality is that we provide feedback normally after the publication, the
Yes.
publishing level,
Yes.
after the publishing
Yes.
level. Yes. Okay. So, what are the challenges in providing feedback? So I'm going to tell you a story about my situation lah. Okay, I don't want to what do you call this?
Back in school.
Yeah, back in school. So I think it's more interesting to talk it from my perspective and then listen to my story. So back in 2010, I was posted to SK Bala Gua Musang. Okay, as a teacher. And then after 5 years serving the indigenous community there, I was sent back to Kota Baru. Okay, so it was a culture shock for me. You know why it's a culture shock for me to be in SK Kubang 3 and 3? Because back in SK Bala, the number of the students that I have in the classroom is probably around 10 to 15, something like that. Okay? But when I go to SK Kubang 3 and 3, I have 45 students.
That is normal.
That is normal, yes. I consider that's normal, but it's a culture shock for me.
Okay.
So 45, but the first year in 2016, it was 50 in the class.
Oh.
Okay, it was 50 in the class. But it's considered normal for that school because it's a big school. Okay. So I have 45 students in my class, and I have to times it by 3 classes.
Alright.
So normally I have 45 times 3, I'm going to have around 135.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 135 kids
strict.
under my wings. Okay. And teachers in our school, we are divided according, because we're a big team. So we are divided into our into either writing 014 or 013 for upper primary. So we attend to the needs of the kids in that way. And every week, I will ensure that my kids receive or send me either at least one. That's the minimum one.
Yeah.
Or maximum is 2.
And you managed to mark all the
Yes.
essays?
Yeah. Okay. So it was okay at the beginning of the year. So January, because you are so pumped up, right? Macam, it's early New Year, so you are very happy to mark the essay, But as you go, yes, mark the essay, provide the feedback and everything. Then later when you go until March, April, May, and then you start to, you know, feel a little bit demotivated because of other clerical works that you have to do. So
what did you
then it becomes a very challenging situation for me. So what happened is that, so let's say if I have something to do for that particular week, so marking will be a little bit challenging for me. So the bundle will be carried forward to the next week. Okay. So when the bundle will be carried forward to the next week, it will join the next bundle coming in.
It accumulates.
Yeah, that accumulated, and then towards the end of the day, it becomes like a nonsense situations for me to handle. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the issue is that I have an inflated number of products. Okay, and this leads to other situations. You know, like a domino effect. First, I don't have enough time for one-to-one feedback, you know. So you want, because normally in my case, I would definitely prefer to have, you know, 5 minutes with kids just to talk about their essay personally. You know, these are the things that you are doing it wrongly, and this is how you should improve
That
it.
is one-to-one basis.
That is one-to-one basis. Imagine I have like 135. Okay. And then as you go through the process, I realize that I'm actually repeating the same thing. Okay. So meaning that the kids' problem, they can be clustered into several problems.
That's the word, clustered.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it simply shows that in writing they have some common problems, and they have another set of problems that they have to be attended individually. Okay, so some of the problems too can be attended as a whole group. Okay, that's what I realized after doing such a stupid thing lah. Okay. Okay. And then it also affect my quality time. You know, quality time in terms of planning my lesson plan, quality time in terms of, you know, being a teacher, quality time as being a human, being a man, and then I end up stress myself and I eat more, and this is what happened to me. Okay. All right. So as I go through the situations, and as I mentioned earlier, I realized that you can actually lump sum or clustered all the problems, you know. But before I realized that, I did another terrible thing actually.
What was that?
I would say that I used a shortcut. Okay. I used a shortcut where I end up, you know, just for a few times. Okay, I feel a little bit guilty, but God bless me. God forgive me for doing this. I use copy from the whiteboard. You know, you write an essay on the whiteboard, and then you
copy,
and then you tell the students, okay, you copy this. This is one of the examples, a good one, and I want you to learn from this thing. Okay. So, but it wasn't. It didn't improve the student writing towards the end of the day, and I was a little bit sad with myself, and I told myself I need to change the way how I approach my kids, because towards the end of the day, you want to pass them to the secondary school teachers with proud. I mean, I want the secondary school teachers to ask them who are your teachers back in primary school. Was Mr. Warid, was Madam Rosnani, was Madam Minor, was Madam Noayati. Then we want them to make us proud by saying that their level of proficiency in writing. Yeah, we've done our part. Okay, as a primary school teacher. Then this is where I started to realize that some of the problem can be, you know, clustered together, and there is no need to attend individually when it comes to these clustered typical mistakes. Okay, and I also realized another thing that I call as undiscovered problems.
Okay.
Because kids, when they talk about writing, they try to play safe.
Okay.
Because they want to secure good marks, so they play safe. So they do not explore the other dimensions in writings, you know, or they try to avoid from making mistakes. So they do not try to explore the other dimensions in writing. In examinations or in assessment, yes, it's fine. You know, you have to be careful. You have to play smart, not to do things that you do not know. But when it comes to learning in the classroom, you have to make mistakes as much as possible, as many as possible, so that we as a teacher can provide feedback to you and improve that, so that when you do the writing in the next sessions, that those kind of mistakes is handled properly. Okay, so I realized that they do not discover that. You know, for example, student A has a problems in capitalization. Student B also has a problem in capitalization. Quite a number of them have the same problem. But then student A actually, because he or she often plays safe in writing, so he or she didn't realize that they also have the problems in terms of constructing compound sentences, okay, because they often play safe, they just use simple sentences, but they didn't use the compounds or complex sentences because of that they didn't realize about it, okay. So they're good in using simple sentences, but when it comes to compound and complex, they had some problems with that. So I realized that because of this undiscovered, sometimes we discover them a little bit late, you know, at the end, almost the end of the of the session, where we want to send them into the examination hall. Okay. So I told myself maybe we need to come up with something, something that is much feasible for my situation, so that after my teaching sessions or after the school hour ends, I can go to Starbucks or I can go to coffee machine and then get my a cup of coffee, okay, and then lepaskan nafas lega because I've done my job today. Okay. All right. So from towards different goals, where I attend one by one, just like that. So I think that there is a need to direct their attentions to a similar goals, okay, to a similar goals and make them realize that, oh, actually, I also have problem with this thing, but I didn't realize that I'm having problem with that, okay. So I call this approach as the dummy text, okay. The first trial before I introduce the dummy text in my classroom is that
How long was the dummy text?
It depends. We'll talk about it after this later. Okay. So before I introduce the dummy text to my classroom, I used to have a list of mistakes that they often do in their writing. But this is backfiring, in my PDPC, it ended up becoming a model for kids, like points for kids to use to bully their friends. We thought that it would be safer to just simply, list down and then copy, and then put it on the whiteboard and discuss in general. But there will be a situations where I had this one situation where we have, because kids, they sit next to each other, right? So the friends who sit, yes, the friends, the friends who sit next to that person suddenly look into the friend's paper and say, you are the one who make the mistakes. So it becomes an issue, a big issue in the class, they become callings and everything. This is the Mr. Capitalization lah. This is the Mr. Subject Verb lah, all this kind of things. So it becomes an unhealthy environment for them. So that's why making mistakes, they don't want you to discover that they're making mistakes. So that's why when they're writing, and they'll be like, yeah. So what happens is that when they're doing writing and when I go around to see their work, they'll be like, no, you cannot see my work. Okay. Yes. Okay, so that's why I said that in order to produce a positive environment where kids can learn from the mistakes, I think it's good to introduce a dummy text. Okay, so this dummy text contains the mistakes that they typically do in the classroom, especially in the writing session. So let me show you an example. What is actually the dummy essay, a dummy text? So a dummy approach or dummy text approach or feedback approach is where we talked about giving feedback towards a dummy essay, purposely recreated. So the dummy essay is the one that we create in order to model writing to the students. Okay, so basically it's about modeling our expectation, modeling what I want you to do in writing, modeling what kind of outcomes that we want you to show towards the end of the day. Okay, and the essay is normally constructed by teachers based on the typical errors made by the students. But of course, the first challenging part in developing this thing is that you have to know what are the dimensions in amongst your students. Okay. Yes. So this is an example of a dummy text that I created for my class. Basically, if you look,
it's not long, right?
It's not long, but it fulfills the criteria for section B. Okay, for section B, how much you have to write? You have to write between 50 to 80. Okay, so basically, it has to fulfill the criteria. As a matter of fact, text criteria, instruction itself is part of dimensions in the dummy essay. So if you look here, for every sentence, from the starting point until the end point, there are mistakes. Okay, but these mistakes are typical mistakes done by the students, but they are not the one who making it. So I purposely do the mistake, imitate their mistakes, and then we do the discussion based on this essay. Okay. But before the MCO, normally what I do is that I provide them with the essay. I group them into group of 4 or 5, and then yeah, it's a group work. So where they identify the mistakes together, and then we combine the groups, 2 groups, and then they do the 2 group discussions to add on more mistakes that they couldn't discover during the discussions. And after that, only then I go for like mass discussions with everyone and go word by word with them. Okay, so here, if you realize in the dummy essay itself, you find that every sentence there are several mistakes. Okay, several mistakes. And the intensity of the dummy essay itself depends on your students' proficiency as well. Let's say we're talking about students from a weaker class. I'm sure you don't want to go to this extent. You might want just to go to, you know, a shorter one, but it has to be in essay form so that kids know, oh, actually they are learning something from the writing. Okay, all right. Perhaps the biggest questions that people are gonna ask me at the moment is that how is this different compared to find errors activity? How is that different? Okay, I think this is definitely based on find errors in the text. Definitely based on that. But I would say that if you're talking about find errors in the text, the differences between that activity with the dummy essay, it depends on the dimensions that we are talking about. Okay, so for find errors in the text, normally the dimensions is a little bit smaller. But for dummy essay, dummy essay, you can have as many as 6 dimensions, or you can depends on the proficiency of the student. So you might want to limit it into 1 or 2, 3 dimensions. Okay, so basically, find errors in the text might not necessarily be the needs of the kids, but the dummy essay is a text where you corresponds to the needs of the kids. Okay, so it's basically similar, but there's a slight differences in terms of approaches to the design. So
you have the 6 dimension?
yeah.
Okay,
So I'm showing you the dimension.
idea.
Yes. So these are the dimensions that I often consider whenever I develop my dummy text. Okay. Number 1, I talks about the tenses. Okay. So because sometimes when we talk about tenses with kids in writing, right, especially when we talk about section B, they tend to have problems, especially when they have to mix tenses in their text. So when we do a dummy text, that would require them to have, you know, at the beginning of the essay would be present tense, and then the moment they have to describe their past experience, that they have to change to past tense, and then towards the end to close the letter, then they have to use back the present tense. So those are some of the things that we attend during the dummy essay sessions. Okay. And then they also sometimes show you that they have problems in not just constructing sentences. That one would be number 2, but in terms of playing the time frame. You know, like one day Ali walked to school, or one day Ali is walking to school. So they have problems with that because of the influence of
The
mother tongue. Okay, kan? Because of the influence of the mother tongue. So this is one of the things that during the discussion we discuss with the kids, how the first language differ compared to second language. Okay, the second dimension is about sentence structures and the subject-verb agreement. Okay, so when we talk about sentence structures, we are talking about the simple, compound, and complex sentences. And then, of course, when we talk about subject-verb agreement, we're talking about whether singular singular subject follows with the singular verbs or singular or plural verbs, things like that. So sentence structures, normally we talk about the simple, whether we talk about subject-verb, object, subject-verb adverbial. Even for subject-verb adverbial, there's a breakdown for that category. Subject adverbials in when we talk about the quality, or we talk about places, or we talk about the time, and then we also talk about compound sentences. You know, all the fanboys. You know, the conjunctions for, and, no, but, and so. But of course, for the primary school kids, we don't teach all those conjunctions. We just want them to be familiar with certain things. You know, like and, for example. At what extent are we accepting and as a compound sentences? So we are looking at, you know, Ali and Abu were playing at the field. So do we consider that as a compound sentence? I mean, it depends actually, because it is a compound sentence. But in terms of style, I'm not looking at that. I'm not looking you compounding two subjects together or two objects together. But I'm looking at you compounding two simple sentences together. For example, Ali and his friends were playing at the field and they felt happy. So that is what we talked about compound sentence. It's a style in writing. But this is something that we rarely discuss with kids because we think they are kids. Kan?
Yeah.
Okay. The third dimensions would be on the sequences. Like after that, subsequently, then, first, second, third, and then punctuations. Punctuation, surprisingly, punctuations also comes into the picture.
Okay.
And then we talked about usage of English. Okay, usage of English in terms of when do you use which, when do you use hope, when do you use the word tantalizing, under what context tantalizing can be used. Okay. So it depends. It depends on the student's proficiency because if I'm talking about based on my school context, okay, based on my school context. So some of it might not be applicable to other teachers' school context, but there's another way of attending the usage of English. For example, let me give you an example. You're talking about weak students, right? And you want to teach them to write. You want to ask, are you available this week? Okay. Available is such a big word for weak students.
Yeah, are you available this week?
Are you available this week? If my weaker students can use that in writing,
I'm
definitely.
How are you going to attend to the weak?
So, in terms of usage English, you're going to do some reverse. In a reverse technique where you know that available can be replaced with much more simpler words.
And
like, are you busy? Yes, busy is like common among them. Are you busy on that day? So we're going to talk about this after this. We still talk about usage of English, but it's not about introducing the gobbledygos or jargons to them, right?
Okay.
So it's not just about that. It's about make it a simple way of how they can understand. Or if you cannot attend this in the difficult way, you attend it. There's another way of saying it. Yeah, much simpler. Okay. And then the next dimension, we talks about the flow of the story. Okay. So sometimes in the dummy essay, I simply put the flow, in a haywire situations.
Right?
Yeah, we're talking about the coherence, especially when it comes towards manual writing.
Yeah.
Like first, second, third. Then we ask your opinion. Do you think this should comes after the first one? Do you think all this discussion?
Students will be able to deal with it.
The first session, it will be very challenging. The first session is about you modeling the answers, modeling the outcomes to the kids. This is definitely in that way. It's not just in writing, but even for speaking skills. If you don't model with the kids, then how do we expect kids to produce them to the output, right? So the first session up until fifth or sixth sessions is definitely the reliance the reliance of the activity is definitely on the teachers. But as you go, gradually go into the sessions up until the 10th, the 20th, then you start to realize that the reliance, the reliance towards you is gradually lesser, gradually low, and then you can start passing the baton to the students to stand up and say, what do you think about this thing? Why is this thing happen? The students will be able to justify. I have teacher training from IPG Kota Baru, from IPG in Terengganu came and witnessed the dummy effects as well, the dummy essay effects as well. And they were quite amazed by the fact that the third class can still pinpoint, teacher, this is wrong because of this thing. And then when we ask, why do you think this is a problem? Because of this thing. So I told them, this is what you do when you consistently and gradually introduce the lesson in the classroom. I mean, if you want to say that this is going to work in one try, no, definitely no. Okay. Even when your husband want to pick at you, it takes times, right? It takes many effort in order to happen, right? Many times. So what makes you think that one essay session they will become an excellent writer? No, it doesn't happen in that way. Let's step on the reality of the world. Okay, let's look it from the reality. So basically, you keep introducing. So it's like every week you have one or two sessions of this with kids, apart from other approaches. Then it's somehow adding up their what we call subject knowledge for each dimensions. Because whenever you discuss this from using the dummy essay, you are asking them to apply their knowledge into context. Okay, all right. So these are an explanations of the dimensions. So I have somehow explained a little bit about this. We talked about tenses up until the format. Also, the format is also important things because for section B UPSR, for example, even though it's not being marked or you not be deducted, for instance, as far as I'm concerned, because of the format, but it's somehow
teach them the right thing.
Yeah, teach them to write the right things. Like for example, when we talk about how to write a Gmail, for example, an email. So some of them you find to write www dot dot something like that. To the point they also have like cheers your stepmother. Okay. To that point. So I mean, of course, in the classroom, you might want to accept that as a jokes amongst your students. But when it comes towards sending them into the examination hall, you might want to remind them that you only get one chance, and if you ruin it, you ruin it forever. That's it. Okay. Nobody would like to go into the examination hall and sit for another round of UPSR test. I wouldn't want to do that. Even for SPM, I don't want to do that. Okay. So all these are the important dimensions that you should consider whenever you build the dummy text. Okay. So I don't want. Okay, I don't want to talk too much. Let's do this together.
You demonstrate. Tell me. I can't wait.
Okay. So this is basically an example of the dummy essay, and we are going to discuss about this dummy essay together. Okay, but not all because we have limited time. But I'm trying to attend several sentences together with everyone. Okay. So kids, today we're going to discuss about an essay. Okay. So let's look at the essay and let's look at the first part, which is Dear Cousin. Can you find any problems in the Dear Cousin, Madam Fana?
I don't see any problem, but I think I know what you are trying to tell me. The capital, I can see a capital C. We need a capital C for the word cousin.
So no, this is very common among kids. They will be asking you, what it? Teacher, cousin is not specific noun.
Okay.
Kenapa besar? Kenapa huruf besar? Why big C? Okay, so this is where the explanation comes in, But I don't want to tell them, according to the Oxford Dictionary books. No, so I create a tale for them. So I always tell them this story. I told them, you have a dad, right? You have a father at home. Okay. So what's your father's name? Okay. So they're telling me, my father's name is Mihan, for example. So I tell, okay, can you go home and call your dad Mihan? Okay, call your dad Mihan and see what happened to you after that. And then they say, no, I don't want to do that. Definitely die after that. I say, okay, but this is a different culture. We are talking about English is a different culture. In amongst the English people, they allow to call their parents by name. Some of them, okay. So it's a normal culture for them, but not a normal culture for Southeast Asians like us. So when it comes to, it's just a tale. I mean, it's not necessarily a true fact, but making them understand this is going to be difficult. But through the tales, they understand that the moment English come to Southeast Asia, they try to adopt into our culture. So one of the adaptation is that when we use the term cousin, but replace it with the names, get to be replaced by the names, the C should be in C capital, big C.
So you're going to do the correction straight away?
So we are going to put here Dear Cousin. Okay. So C capital letter. Okay. Why? Because it's replacing the name. But you have to give the other perspective as well to them. But do you use my cousin with big C?
No.
No, because that is referring to.
Very specific.
It's not specific. It's a common noun. It's a common noun. So we don't put capitalization for common noun. So now you know cousin. At one time, it can be used as a specific noun because it's replacing the name. But in other situations, it is in common noun. Okay, so you don't have to big capitalize that thing.
So you explain to your
Yes, and this is an important part as well in section B especially because they have to write an essay, an email. To start with dear friends or dear Abu. If they use names, that's fine. No problem at all. But there's a tendency where they use dear father, dear mother. It happens. Okay. All right. The second part. Let's look. Hi.
You need to put a comma.
Yes. Of course, it's already here, so it's not a big thing. Okay. All right. So hi. I wish you are fine. Okay. Now we start to see terrible things coming in. Okay. All right. So let's start with hi. Okay, hi followed with comma. This is the intonations coming in reading. Intonation in reading. I said to them, okay, do you know what's the difference between hi, comma? Hi, comma will sound like hi.
Hi.
But is that a common thing to do when you write something? Is that the common intonation? No, the intonation will be like, hey, hi, hi, hey, something like that, right? So
you
it
need
will
an
be,
exclamation
yeah,
mark.
it's more stylo if you put an exclamation mark rather than a comma. Okay, you don't want to say hi, hi. You know, imagine I send that kind of text to my missus. What happened after that? I think I'm sleeping outside. You know. Okay, so it's gonna be an exclamation mark because you want to show the enthusiasm that you have towards your friend. So definitely we have to change this. So hi and exclamation mark.
Okay.
Then I wish you are fine. Okay, let's look at I. Is there any problem with the I when you ask the kids? Okay, the kids will be like, no problem because I is not a full stop.
Okay.
It happens. It happens. This is my experience when we're talking about this thing. The first 3 sessions, they say that it's not a full stop, Mr. Warid. It's not a full stop. Why do you have to use a big letter? Then we explain to them. Actually, after the exclamation marks, you still need to capitalize the first letter after that because it has a similar properties like full stop. So then they realize, oh, is that so? I say, yeah, yes, definitely.
The O comes in.
Oh, the moment you start listening to hearing the oh, you know that it goes into their brain somehow. Okay, the brain start to function. Okay, so I definitely is not something that we wish to see in this way. So it has to be with capital I. See? So this is a feedback. Do you think this is a similar feedback that you gave to your students when you have a one-to-one session? Yes, these are the same feedback. We are doing the same thing. But now we are catering it to the whole class because these are the common the cluster because we have clustered and we have identified the cluster that these are the problems that typically happen in the classroom. Okay. So next we have wish you are fine. Now we talks about the usage of English in the classroom. Wish. I wish you are fine. I'm trying to say that are you trying to say that you hope that I am not well? Okay. So when we use the word wish, normally we use it in a negative context. For example, I wish I were rich, but actually I am, not rich. I wish I were a girl, for example. But but in reality, I'm not a girl. I'm a boy. I mean, I'm already a man, but in that context, something like that. Like Beyonce, if I were a boy, right? But she's not a boy at that time, but she sang the song if I were a boy, kan?
Yeah.
So that is wish, the what we call it conditional clauses. But then the
differentiate between the wish and the hope, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what they want to say here is actually hope. So
I
wish is in the negative form,
and
and what they need to have is hope.
hope is in the positive form.
Hope is in the positive form.
Okay.
For example, I hope you will be able to do that. So that is positive. So with an intention that yes, you'll be able to do that. But if I say I wish you'll be able to do that. Okay. All right. So I hope you are fine. Okay. Now we discover another problem. Okay. Oh no, wait. I think I have another encounter with a wish. The kids reply like this to me. They said, "What about I wish you a happy birthday? I wish you a happy birthday, Mr. Warid." That is definitely not negative, Mr. Warid. So basically, when you are doing dummy approach with the kids or feedback approach with the kids,
So how do you respond to your students?
I said, yeah, but you have to look into the context of the use of the way how wish being used in the sentence. Wish a happy birthday. If we direct translate that into bahasa Malaysia, it's gonna be like saya mengucapkan. Okay. Tapi if we say I wish you are fine, saya berharap. So that's totally different situations. Okay. If you use wish in the context of mengucapkan, then that's definitely positive. But if you are using wish in this context, that's definitely in the negative form. Okay, so it's better to use the word hope. I hope you are fine. Then we have another issue.
Okay. I have another problem.
This is one of the 2 issues that always lingers when it comes verb after the word are. They are either gonna say they are fined in the passive forms or they are fining. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they've learned that after R you need to add ing, or after R you have to add ed. Okay. This is another situations where the usage of English coming in. Okay. So when we talk about find, okay, are we talking about from subject verb perspective, or are we talking about from subject verb complement perspective? Okay. So if you're talking about from subject verb perspective, then it makes sense. I hope you are fine. Maksudnya you kena denda, you kena pay, you kena pay something to the police. You know, like control movement order, CMO, where when you go out and you caught,
Stay home.
yeah, if you do not stay at home, then you'll be fined 1,000, right? Okay, 1,000. No,
So that fine
three.
is
Okay.
that is
So
the fine
this is what we're talking about fine. But
Okay.
now what we're talking about is the adjective forms of the word fine. Okay. So we are talking about I hope you are fine. There's no need for you to add ed or ing. Okay. So when we discuss it with the kids, it's gonna be like you are fine. It's different than you are fined with subject verb, right? If the subject verb here, you are fined. So this is the differences in terms of structure between you are fine and you are fine. Okay. So if you look at here, then the kid's gonna see the difference. Oh, actually, it's under subject verb complement, not under subject verb structures. Yeah. This is where the dimension starts to coming in. Okay. I want go to the KB Mall.
Oh, that's very common.
I want is common. Every year you see this. Okay. So want is another aspect in writing that you need to explain to the kids. Okay. This is where the subject structures, you know, that's why when I teach sentence structure to kids, I don't like to make a shortcut. You know, sometimes we have like subject, verb, object, but under object we have the adverbials there, they have the complements there. No, kids need to be taught the differences in structures in sentences, because that's how they build up their knowledge before you can start teaching them compound and complex sentences. Okay, but some of us think that kids can't do that. But I do have a little bit reservations to that. I do agree some kids can't do that. I mean, because of their disabilities in certain things. But if like, I mean, if I think if we keep expose them to this thing, then definitely when they go to secondary school level, they inshallah they'll be able to grasp the idea that we have done our part for the simple sentences. So when they are being introduced with compound and complex sentences at secondary school level, it will be easier for the secondary school teachers. I mean, that's why when in my classroom, when we talked about subject, verb, structures, then it has to be in the different forms. I never like it. I never underestimate the ability of the kids to understand these differences. So if we put some trust on them, then definitely they'll be able to perform as well. And then sometimes you just need to keep doing it again and again with the kids. Okay. So one is also another issue, right? So they have a problem because they direct translate. Direct translations is definitely one of the issues lah. And so in terms of one, they want to say saya mahu pergi, saya mahu makan kan, for example kan. I want eat. So they write I want eat because they know mahu is want. So makan is eat. I want eat. And then they try to associate that dengan saya mahu what they call, saya mahu sebuah buku. So I want a book. Okay. So when you put I want a book, so this becomes on a different structure. This is subject, this is verb, and this is object. Okay, I want to eat, on the other hand, falls under subject, verb sahaja. Okay, it will require you to have to, because the word followed after that is in the verb form. It is the verb form. But if you follow, if one is being followed by a noun, then there is no need for you to put to. So these are the things that we keep telling them to the kids that these are the mistakes that you often do. So you need to understand. If you want to say saya mahu makan, then makan is is a verb, then you need to add to. If you are talking about I want a book, and you're talking about object of the sentence, then you need to use one only without any to. So this is why you are explaining to the kids. Okay. So I want to go. So you need to have to here. To go to the KB Mall. This is another issue. To the KB Mall. Okay. The use of the, because everything they put the, everything they put everything they put. No, whenever they're supposed to put a, they forgot to put a. But whenever they
When
have,
you're not
they don't not supposed to put a, they
then
put
they put
a.
a.
This is common. You know. This is the what we call the perks of teaching primary kids. I
At the
don't see that.
beginning,
I
you
don't
see
see.
this kind of mistake.
I
Very
don't see that
common.
as a problem, but I see this as a interesting thing to discuss with kids. Okay, so the K bemol, for example, this is a problem. Why? Because K bemol is a specific noun. Okay, the specific noun doesn't require an article. Okay, so there's no need for you to put the K bemol. Give another example to the kids. Do you say I'm going to the SK Kubang Krian 3? Or do you say I'm going to SK Kubang Krian 3? Then they'll say to SK Kubang Krian 3. Why do you put the in the SK Kubang Krian 3? Because SK Kubang Krian 3 is a specific noun and there's no need for you to put the there. Although there are certain adalah what we call there's a definite small rules macam kalau University of Nottingham, right? They don't say University of Nottingham, they say the University of Nottingham. But they have reasons for that. Okay, and that reasons is not something that you want to tell to the kids yet. Okay, not yet. At this level, these are the general knowledge that they should have. They should know. Okay.
That Saturday is correct.
Yeah, this Saturday. Yes, capitalization. And can you join me? You see, join.
Can you
join me? Okay, can you join me? There's an ed here. Why there is a need for you to put ed there? Because they're quite confusing, kan? Can join here. So you're gonna explain to them that okay, if you do a reverse technique with them, okay, you can join, right? Why didn't you put the ed there? Because there's a can before the verb. So if you change this into a questions, right, that you're gonna put the subject in the middle, then why there isn't it for you to change and put ed there? Okay, so of course at the first session, as I mentioned earlier, the first session there'll be like no, I have no idea. No answers, very quiet. But you have to take that responsibility to model the answers with the kids. Okay. So as they go through the first session, second session, third session, they'll be silent, definitely silent. I'm not gonna say no. This is an ultimate. No. I'm being honest. The first, second, third, fourth, fifth, they'll be silent. Total silent, looking at you, be like kubik, and like that. Yeah. But then they'll be able to start explaining to you in the six. I mean, not all dimensions, but they'll be able to pick up certain dimensions. We need exclamation marks after high. Okay. So that is modeling, because you are modeling the expectation that you want them to produce in their outcome, in their writing. Okay. So I don't want to talk too much about this, but this is a dummy essay, and one of the good things of using this dummy essay is the fact that they feel safe. I didn't hear kids pinpointing, ni lah your mistake ni. No, I didn't hear that happen anymore.
You mentioned the word safe, but I feel a bit scared here.
Yeah, but the mistakes, why?
You know why? I just want to tell you about the red pen.
Yeah. I forgot. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's use the green pen in the next session. I'm so sorry. Okay. I'm so sorry about the red pen. Okay, we discussed about it yesterday, but I forgot about this thing. Being old, getting older now. Okay, right, never mind. Okay, so at this level, you might want to, you ask me that this is too much for my student. I say yes, we as a teacher, we have to adopt and adapt, and as I've mentioned earlier, we have many dimensions when it comes to the dummy essay. So as a teacher, we know to what extent that we can stretch or inflate the intensity of the dummy text. Like in my situation, this is common, because my students from the first class and the second class, they are capable of attending to this text. But for the lower ones, you might want to limit the dimensions. You don't want to put all the dimensions into that.
Do you have a sample of that?
Yeah. Okay. So this is
I like this. Okay. I'm more interested in this.
Alright.
For my weaker students.
Okay. So this is an example of dummy essay for a weaker one.
Yeah.
But when I talk about weaker, I have to define the weak students. Okay. I'm not referring to students who cannot read.
Okay.
I'm not referring to students who have problems in penmanship. Okay. So there will be times. I mean, as a teacher, when you look at the students, you know that this student is ready to learn writing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm talking about that kind of students. Okay. They are not that good. They are. I mean, if we consider this into consideration, they could be D students. The D students who have the potentials of going into C. Okay, we're talking about that. Okay, So the weaker student, you don't definitely, for example, section B, right? They have like they have to write between 50 to 80 words. Definitely, you don't want to chuck all 80 words into your dummy essay because, as I mentioned, it should be a gradual process rather than being too what they call ambitious, in dealing with them. So in this example, as you can see, there are several errors in the essay itself. So, but the dimension is limited, okay?
Cluster.
And clustered as well. So it's basically focusing on the capitalization, as well as on one part of this is talking about the usage of English, because you definitely want to give them some input on how to go about certain things, and then there's also a situations where we talk about what else? Yeah, capitalization as well, and so basically this is about capitalization and what do you call this? Usage of English. So for example, when we go through this with the kids, let's say we provide them with a text and then they work together to identify the problem. So we teach them the lucky things about my school is that the last class or the second last class, normally we only have around 10 to 12. So the good ones normally are being casted into the as many as possible. Yes. Okay. So we can have like three students in a group. Okay. So it's a smaller group and it's more manageable. So we told them, we asked them, so dear Adam, what do you think about this thing? So I didn't put dear cousin because I think your cousin could be named as Adam as well. Right? So dear Adam, so what is the problem with Adam? You'll be surprised if after certain session they'd say Adam should be in capital letter. They know, they can explain, but it takes time. Oh, I'm sorry, Q&A. I'm so eager to go to the Q&A. Before that, let me change my color to red. Okay.
Not the red one.
Not red, green one. Okay. So dear Adam. So Adam, why do you think Adam is wrong here? Because it has to be capitalized. Okay. So dear. Then you ask them to write dear Adam. So okay. So when they rewrite these things, so they call about dear Adam. Okay. All right. Hi. Oh, this is where hi comes in. Same explanation as well. You want to say hi, or do you want to say hi? Which one? Okay. So definitely this is an area, but before that, don't forget to indent. Okay. Yeah. So now we talked about the format with the kids. So these are the reasons why the dummy essay is a bit different compared to fine errors. Because fine errors normally are more focusing on the grammar, the subject verb agreement, but the dummy essay goes into a bigger dimension. We talk about how to write. Okay, so this is definitely a level that you go before you ask them to write their actual piece of writing. Okay, but they had enough exposure to your expectation, what I want you to write, for example, and how I want you to do it. And then, for example, hi after the exclamation mark. What is the next problems that you can identify? The H. Yeah. Why do you need to write it in capital letters?
You ask
we ask the student. Okay, so they justify. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, the first session they'll be like looking at you like with your blank face. Apalah Mr. Warid ni cakap kan.
Okay.
Dah lah
accent. But I think after a few sessions,
after a few sessions, you don't change the pattern. You just keep doing this, but in a different way, in the different essay, for example. But they know after the exclamation mark, it should be a capital letter. How are you is a question. So should we use a full stop or should we use a question mark? Okay. So in a way, we are modeling. Okay, modeling to a certain extent. And then we are also showing them that, for example, are you available this Saturday? As we have discussed just now, one way of approaching kids who are at the weakest class, is that
I know what you're trying to tell me.
We show them, okay, this is difficult. Okay, this is difficult. Obviously, okay, I'm gonna circle this one first.
Okay.
Because we want to focus on available. I'm sure teachers who are watching this definitely agree with me.
Why on earth are you teaching?
Why on earth you want to introduce available to the kids? But I introduced this to the kids not in the intentions of making them learn the word available, but in the my intention is that there's another way of using this. There's another way of saying this. You can say, are you busy?
Saturday.
Sorry, whoops. Are you busy this Saturday? They'll be like,
I like the yeah. I got
So when in the class, when the students say, so it's an indicator that learning goes into their brain and their heart. Okay, all right. So I want to buy, then again, okay, I want to. We don't force them to learn want to, tapi we want to buy. You know, you keep repeating. You know, like ask them to repeat. So this is how we attend the dummy essay of the kids. Okay, and again, I have to reiterate that this is just an approach. Okay, of course there are other approaches, and again I want to reiterate that this is not the ultimate guide for writing, but personally I think this is interesting.
Like, because
Kan?
you've done this in the school for them,
Alhamdulillah,
right?
for my school, when we first introduced this dummy text to my kids, for the first class, okay, the class that I have to ensure that they score A. Alhamdulillah, out of the 48 kids, we managed to secure 45 A's. And then the second year, I've been tasked for the second class where we have the B and C kids. And Alhamdulillah, out of the 40 something to 43, we have 25 kids securing A. Yeah, 50% securing A, and then the remaining of the kids, be in the strong B group. So you'll be satisfied seeing that kids, when they go through this from time to time, they show you the changes in the way how they write, and then that is a satisfying feelings towards the end of the day. So that they are writing not blindly, kan? The previously the learning process is there, and when we ask why did you do this, and then they'll be able to explain to you why they do this. I mean, the worst explanation that they can give is that because you say so. Okay, that's the worst part. But I rarely hear that. I rarely hear kids say because you say so. They'll be able to explain because this is replacing. Yeah, they have learned this many times. So this is a much better version than copy from the whiteboard. Kan? Copy from the whiteboard, and then they merely copy and nothing happen in their brain, and then they're stuck, and then towards the end of the day nothing happened. But this is another approach that you can replace copy from the whiteboard, where you can somehow produce an active discussion with the kids. So this is why I keep using the dummy essay in my class as one of the approaches. Okay. So I think that's a little bit about. Yeah, we have come to the Q&A. So I think this is one of the sharing sessions with that I can share practices, some of the practices in my school. I hope somehow it benefits everyone. Of course, as a teacher, we have to be adaptive in terms of this. So you have to use your teacher knowledge to identify which dimensions that they want to talk about, or which dimensions that can be applied in your classroom.
Okay. I have a question. This is very common.
Okay.
After giving your speech and delivering
Alright.
and sharing, this is from Mr. Ko Hui Chu.
Oh my God,
Our
Mr.
school
Ko, hi.
wish to invite Mr. Warid for a talk on this topic. Is it possible, Mr.
Oh
Warid?
my God. You have to go through my HM first. So basically that's a normal procedure. Okay, it's a normal procedure.
Okay, surely
Okay.
you can, but then please
Thank
go
you,
through
Mr.
the
Ko.
normal procedure, Mr. Ko, yeah?
Okay.
All right. Okay. Is there any questions? None. Okay.
So before we end, let's do some recap.
Yeah.
Okay. As I've mentioned earlier, this is just one of the approaches. Okay. Maybe you want to show the slides. Okay. This is one of the approaches, and this is not the ultimate guide, but this is a better version compared to copy from the whiteboard. Okay, because we have somehow clustered the problem, and then these are the similar problems that they keep doing in your essay. And as I've mentioned earlier, some of the problems in writing are better to be discussed generally and clustered, and there will be some of the problems better to be approached individually. Okay, so we have to be smart, because our curriculum system, forgive me for saying this, our curriculum system is like this rather than going down. Okay, so we are a little bit wide when it comes to what we have to learn. So we have so many things to cover, but in terms of doing remedial and enhancement activity, we are lacking from that point. Okay, but the new CFR curriculum, I think it provide us a lot of time to do that. So that's why I'm an yeah, I'm a little bit advocate for the CFR based KSSR rather than the old one. I know some teachers will disagree with me, but I don't care. All right. So basically, we have 6 dimensions. We have tenses, sentence structures, and subject-verb agreement. We have sequences and punctuations. We have the usage of English. We have flow. We have format. And then for the usage of English, this is where you want to introduce new idioms like heebie-jeebies. You know what is that? Give me a heebie-jeebies. So this is something when you give you the heebie-jeebies. Then you want your students to use this in their writing, for example. So usage of English is about introducing new stuff or attending some issues that they're supposed to know. You know, like wish, how to use the word hope, how to use want, for example. Okay, and then we also talks about the flow, talks about the format. Perhaps people are gonna ask me, do we have to have all the 6 dimensions in our dummy essay? No, no. As a matter of fact, if your students are from the weak class, then definitely you might want to reduce the dimensions. But as if you think that your students you'll be a bit boring in terms of doing the work, then you want to increase the intensity of the dimensions. Okay, that's why kalau like for my class, the first class, then normally in one sentence they have to identify 3 to 4. Okay, 3 to 4. But what I did is that I do it like this. I'll be like, dear cousin, I put 1. To simplify that, there's one error there. And then hi is 1. I wish you are fine, 4. So I put it here like this, 4. So they have to identify. It's much easier, or else the kids will be like searching blindly. Okay, at least they know, oh, ada 4. There are 44 mistakes here, and I only find for 1 more. Okay, so you have to be adaptive to when it comes to this. Okay, and then of course
The explanation on this.
people will be saying that, oh, there's so many things that they have to know. Yes, there are so many things, but these so many things is for the teachers. These are our subject knowledge when it comes to writing. You need to know this. You need to know how to construct compound sentences. You need to know how to construct complex sentences. Complex and compound sentences is not because they are long sentences, kan? It is because they have certain conjunctions. They have, like, for example, complex sentence. They have one independent sentence and one dependent sentence.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I like cakes because they are sweet. For example, that is already a complex sentence because ada the word because it's the conjunctions under our base. So that is an indicator that the students have used complex sentences. So it's not just about writing a sentence, 2 lines of sentences with no stop. Yes, all the bombastic. No, kids okay, this is another myth at upper primary level, that when we talk about complex sentences, it's about long bombastic words. Okay, but that's not that doesn't really show what it's actually about. I think if you got involved in the UPSR, then the actual outcome that they need to produce, they just have to show that they are capable of using certain conjunctions properly, and the only issues that we have is the maturity in their expressing their ideas. So this is where how you express, teach them how to express their ideas properly. Okay, all right. So I think I have done the recap, and if we don't have any Q&A, so once again I would like to thank PPD Kota Baru and USTP Tapang for organizing such a wonderful event, and thank you so much to Puan Fahana for considering me to be the first speaker of this program. I feel to be happy because after the control movement orders, this clothes is still, I can still wear this, so I don't have to go to KB Mall
and buy a new one.
And it's great to be back in this attire before the school opens. It gives me the sense that I'm still a teacher. Okay. All right. So I also have done.
Okay, please share this with our viewers.
I also have done several sessions on dummy essay with kids. We can go to the links, and in each videos you're gonna see that there's a link to the video and there's a link to the dummy essay itself. Okay. So first thing first is that you download the dummy essay, and then you do it. I mean, you ask your students to do it themselves, and then you can direct them to the video on the YouTube for discussion. And of course, this is not a bulletproof discussion. As a human, I have my own limitations, so I might have overlooked certain things. So normally, what I do that when I realize that I miss to talk about that issue, then I put the next information in the comment itself. So do check the comments as well. Like, don't comment anything, okay? So do check the comments for extra information that I miss out from the recording. You know, it's normal because we are human, so we make
Human
mistakes as well.
being,
And I'm as I have explained earlier, I'm not an accident teacher. I'm just a normal teacher. So I'm fine with making mistakes, but I'm happy to learn from the mistakes that I've made. Okay. So thank you very much once again, Inafana. So I'm passing back the button to you.
Right, thank you very much for the sharing. All right, that is what feedback approach is all about.
Yes.
Okay, dear viewers, teachers outside there, please try this approach because it works in SK Kubang Krian 3 and it's proven. Okay, all right, on behalf of PPD Kota Baru and USTP Tapang, we sincerely thank Mr. Warid for the sharing today. And to all our viewers, thank you once again, and we hope to meet you some other time. And with that, I say thank you.